I defy you, video game! I defy you and what you stand for! I will come down on this game with the power of Thor! Good! Good! Everyone knows I'm here! Everybody! Everybody get a weapon! There's an intruder! We gotta take him out! My name is Tyler, aka Springline Gaming, and I'm on a quest to not only platinum 2024's Astro Bot, but all of the games featuring the rescued cameo bots that I can. Working one galaxy at a time, once a game is completed, a randomizer wheel will determine which game gets platinumed next. If you'd like to follow along for the rest of the journey, or would like to check out some of the hidden gems on the PlayStation, make sure to subscribe, leave a like, and hit that notification bell so you know when to catch the live streams of whatever we're playing. Now, with our quick introduction out of the way, let's move on to today's platinum. For the last 15 years, ever since the me of yesteryear stumbled upon the first Assassin's Creed in a GameStop, I have loved stealth games. Sneaking around, grabbing those unsuspecting victims in the night, and hiding in increasingly stupid hiding places just scratches a special itch in my gamer brain. So, with Solid Snake and other Metal Gear characters freshly rescued in Astro Bot, I'm pleased to announce the next game in the Ultimate Astro Bot Platinum Challenge! Yes, well, anyways. The next game is a beloved classic that revolutionized the stealth genre. Yes? The obvious game for the challenge. Right. A name you all know. It starts with an M. That's me. Please welcome our next platinum, Metal Gear 1 and 2!
Yes! Yeah! Oh, better luck next time, buddy! Woo! Woo!
People of Spring Lane Gaming as the next game of... Solid. Hold the phone, folks. I'm getting an important news flash from your narrator. Go ahead, T-Dog. I'm making a complete what of myself? The most embarrassing thing you've ever seen? And now it's worse because I'm repeating everything you say into the microphone? Oh, for crying out loud, Solid, you are not the game we're playing!
What?
You are not the first game! Yes, folks, as it turns out, Metal Gear Solid isn't actually the beginning of the prolific Metal Gear series, despite what the naming convention of most of the series would lead you to believe. To see the beginning of the series, we're actually going to have to go back over a decade before Solid's debut to the original Japanese MSX game, 1987's Metal Gear. Recently featured in the Metal Gear Solid Master Collection, the original Metal Gear, as well as its 1990 sequel Solid Snake, are actually combined into one platinum, shortening the amount of time before we do get to play Metal Gear Solid. The platinum for the MSX games works a little differently than the last few, however, as there's very little to do as far as miscellaneous objectives and interesting side activities go. To get the platinum, all you have to do is beat the story of both games, regardless of difficulty, beat a boss rush for each, again with no difficulty requirements, and flip through the game's script book, which unlocks progressively as you play through the story. This sounds like it's going to be a walk in the park.
A few moments later.
There's still like a lot of... No. Fool, you simpleton, you simple idiot. So let's get started. The first Metal Gear opens with little fanfare as our character, Solid Snake, accidentally ends up in a secret base while practicing for the world record for holding your breath underwater. While he's submerged, I immediately get my first trophy, go ahead Solid Snake, for simply starting the game. Kids these days with their participation trophies, man, I swear. As soon as Snake gives up and comes up for air, his waterproof comm system rings and we answer the phone to Big Boss, who informs us of our mission: infiltrate Outer Heaven and destroy the ultimate weapon, Metal Gear. Once out of the water, I realize three fundamental things at the exact same time. 1, I have no supplies except for cigarettes, which I proceeded to never use for the remainder of the game. I never knew what they were for, other than for looking cool, I guess. 2, I have no weapons except for my deadly karate chop action. Melee attacks make up a lot of the stealth aspect of the game, as you can sneak up behind enemies and punch them 3 times instead of coming in guns blazing. And 3, I noticed in the bottom corner my health bar seemed to be limited to half full. I also noticed that I was currently at a class of 1 star, and as part of a feature I actually found cool in this game, I would soon learn that the two were correlated. After some brief exploring and butt kicking, I find an unattended gun sitting in a nearby truck. Can I go in these trucks? We're packing heat. Picked up a handgun. Unfortunately, it's unloaded, because safety first, kids. I also found some mines sitting in the truck next to it. One screen later, I stupidly get seen by guards and experience my first death to magical bullets that fly over my head, forcing me to start all over again with none of my stuff. Neat. Once reincarnated and back to the mission, I stumble across a keycard, binoculars, and some rations and more trucks. Rations are this game's version of health kits, and I made an interesting discovery while fumbling around in the truck I found them in. This game has a double-edged sword in its programming. Once you leave a screen and come back, replenishable items like rations and ammunition will respawn, allowing you to fill your stock every time you find any. The other side of that sword, however, means that enemies that you've just defeated will also respawn when you re-enter the room, so you can't just run willy-nilly into rooms you thought were cleared. Now that I've learned some basic game mechanics, I used the keycard I found to enter a locked door to find another early game item, the gas mask. Lost in the sauce of finding useful stuff behind locked doors, I run face first into another door, only to find it won't open. We're gonna need more keycards, folks, and this introduces a feature I didn't like in this game. Locked doors are opened using one of 8 keycards found throughout the game. The issue is, doors have no indicators which keycard they need. No numbers, no symbols, no simple color coding, nothing. This leaves you fumbling frantically through your proverbial key ring while enemies are attacking you, or in some cases, the environment is hurting you. Fun stuff. After some more exploring, I found the first of many elevator rooms, which I began to see as save rooms. The game has a save and load feature, but apparently the game will only save whenever you enter an elevator room. Weird and sometimes annoying, but nowhere near as bad as convoluted password systems. While exploring new floors, I found another neat game mechanic. Sometimes, while exploring locked rooms, you find prisoners that you can save that will sometimes give you handy bits of information or story clues. I wonder if you'll get any other incentives for helping people later on. After my good deed for the day was done, I walked into another room and started to get suffocated by the air, proving karma is a lie. Luckily, I had my handy dandy gas mask and was able to breathe again. But look how much health I lost just from entering the room before I got a phone call telling me the air was toxic. If I hadn't walked into the room with full health, I probably would have died. And later, when I try to continue to the next room, I find out it's a keycard door. Since keycards and the gas mask are both equip items, for which you only have one slot, I have to take off my mask and start trying the different cards I have until one works, getting hurt the entire time. What kind of hokey bullshit is that? Moving out of the death chamber, I continued to make my way through the building, saving some more prisoners, including one who gave me the frequency for someone named Diane, who was allegedly able to help me out with information. Although every time I called her, she was either in the shower or shopping and couldn't help me.
This is Steve. Diane, if I know Diane, she's gone shopping and won't have come back yet. Diane, you bitch! Diane, you had one job.
What did you mean by that, Mr. Kojima? I also found some cool weapons, including an RC missile and a grenade launcher. A couple of rescued prisoners later, I noticed that my rank went up to 2-star. Apparently, saving a certain number of prisoners ranks you up, granting you additional health and the ability to carry more ammo and rations, incentivizing the player to go out of their way and find people to save.
I got promoted to a new league of ass kicking and you're next. They just gave me my black belt. Prepare to get your ass eaten. I know what I said.
There's also an additional reward for saving enough prisoners to get the max rank, but we'll touch on that later. After my promotion, I get cornered by some guards and locked in a cell without any of my stuff. Thankfully, they left my comms on me though, and after Big Boss tells me to check the walls, I Hulk smash my way into the next cell where I meet Gray Fox. Hey, like the bot. Gray Fox tells me that Metal Gear is some kind of walking nuke launcher capable of sending the world into nuclear chaos from anywhere. So, you know, bad. He tells me that to find out how to stop Metal Gear, I should find its creator, Dr. Drago Madnar, who is also being kept somewhere in the compound we're in. After punching another wall in this disturbingly insecure prison cell, I'm soon confronted with my first boss, the Shotmaker. At first, I had no idea how I was supposed to dodge his crazy buckshot and get close enough to hit him, as I had none of my weapons. The only doors I could see around me had the same design as other keycard doors, which wouldn't work as I had none of my equipment either. Also, just walking into them wasn't working, so I was feeling pretty stuck. Eventually, I decided to punch the doors, and for some reason, that just worked for one of them. This is another complaint I have about older games. Sometimes you have no way of knowing what to do or how to get out of situations without trying some nonsense that the game has never given you a reason to think will work before. Regardless, my weapons and equipment are mine again, and the Shotmaker was soon taken down by some rockets to the face. In another example of trying random things until they work, in the next room I'm presented with walls that, when punched in certain areas, will give you the same indication as the walls in the prison cell that broke with punches. However, this time punches won't work and you have to use plastic explosives to get through. At least this time I was able to figure out the logic without too much struggle. I'm evolving. While exploring after the Shotmaker fight, I noticed that every time I walked into a room with enemies, I was immediately spotted and attacked. It took several deaths to realize that some sneaky little bastard had slipped a transmitter into my things, constantly giving enemies my location. The nerve! Once I destroyed it, it was business as usual, but I did notice that I had died enough times during the confusion for the game to take pity on me and give me full ammo and rations, so go me. Once the transmitter was squashed, I quickly found the next boss, the Machine Gun Kid.
Machine Gun Kid, boy do I have a fucking surprise for you. This game took pity on me and gave me full ammunition. Prepare to face the might of the entire US government.
The machine gun kit is pathetic. Just hit him with RC missiles from cover until you have him, or take pot shots if you don't. With the machine gun kit defeated and equipped with a parachute and a bomb blast suit I had previously found, I could finally make my way onto the roof to explore some more. Before heading up to the roof, however, I found some infrared goggles that would allow me to see laser traps that had been alerting guards previously. This would come in handy as that had been tripping me up a lot. I have since learned that the cigarettes can apparently be used to see lasers as well, but I'm a cool kid who says no to smoking, so I had to wait for the goggles. Finally up on the roof, I made my way through the area, finding another prisoner that raised my rank again, and eventually another boss fight against a helicopter. The helicopter introduced the trial and error system some of the boss fights would have, where some of your weapons work and some don't. In this case, I had to carefully time grenade launcher shots into the helicopter to blow it up. With the helicopter down, a very slow parachute ride brought me to the inner courtyard of the building, where a prisoner tells me that my princess, Dr. Madnar, is in another castle. So off I went across a mine-filled desert to find the good doctor. I was greeted by a very unfriendly tank with a wide firing radius and a hull that was immune to my rockets. Eventually, I realized that I'd need to place mines where the tank would drive over them, which was easier said than done as the tank sometimes didn't feel like driving far enough and could somehow shoot me through walls. I elected to solve my problems without violence, accidentally running through the tank instead.
Ha! Ha ha! Later, bitch.
At the entrance to the next building, Big Boss instructs me to wear the enemy uniform to continue. After a bit of confusion, a chat member told me to call a frequency I didn't know about, getting me into contact with Schneider, the leader of the enemy resistance, who tells me that an enemy uniform can be found in the basement of Building 1, where we just left, meaning we now have to run back. This would be the first of a few times the game would bring me to a new area, only to tell me that I had to run back and pick up an additional item that I didn't have previous access to. Not in a cool, oh, you just got this new ability, try it out to find other collectibles you missed kind of way, but in a hey, have fun running back several buildings or floors to continue the plot so we can stretch the playtime kind of way. Also, unless I just blatantly missed something, I have no idea where the frequency to call Schneider was. Thank God someone in the chat told me, or I would have had to resort to the walkthrough reading. Running back to the basement in Building 1, I found some body armor that I may or may not have believed to be the enemy uniform, leading to some nice egg on my face. The real enemy uniform was actually found in yet another hidden section of hidden bombable wall with no indication or reason to believe it would be there, other than being told it's somewhere in the basement. I love it! It's great! Moving on. Back to the second building, I come across a prisoner who gives me the contact info for Jennifer from the Resistance, who will end up being a huge help. The problem is, she's very proud and will only speak to high-ranking individuals, and I don't quite fit the bill yet. After recovering from my rejection, I quickly rescue 2 more prisoners, reaching max rank. However, Jennifer still won't answer my phone calls. Apparently, she'll only answer the phone if you are a max rank and call her from a very specific room. This is peak game design at a level I've never seen. Once again, brushing off the pain of Jennifer's rejection, I wander into a room with a fake Dr. Madnar who, for some reason, tells me the location of the real one despite trying to kill me. Also in this room is a door leading to another keycard that was blended into the wall a little too well, as I wasted the next 15 minutes looking around for it before consulting the internet again.
Oh, we were right there, man!
With the next keycard, I find the next boss, the Fire Trooper. Again, the Fire Trooper proves no match for the mighty power of the RC missile. Finally, the real Dr. Madnar is found, but he refuses to give me any help until I find and rescue his daughter. Who, by the way, is being held in the basement of Building 1! Another backtrack later, Ellen is saved. Back to Dr. Madnar, he tells me where Metal Gear is, and later explains that Metal Gear can be defeated by placing exactly 16 plastic explosives on its legs, but in a certain order. He tells me the first 15, but suddenly can't remember the last one as dementia has set in.
It's located 100 floors under Building 3. You're gonna have to fight through every single floor, one at a time. Have you seen The Raid? Have you seen The Raid 2? It's like that. You gotta start on floor 1. There's enemies there. They're gonna put your shit in. You're gonna be on the verge of death. You go to floor 2. You get the picture. You rinse, you repeat. It gets harder as you go. Around floor 53, I've implemented a poisonous gas-like system. Or, you could use my special access elevator that goes directly there.
Later, I'm finally able to talk to Jennifer, who drops off a rocket launcher for me that will come in handy for future fights. Fast forwarding through some more nonsense involving backtracking and deadly gauntlets of auto-detecting enemies, I reach Building 3, and I get a very suspicious call from Big Boss who tells me to abort the mission. After what I've gone through, boss, that simply is not an option. At this time I realized again, once reaching Building 3, I was given an item that I would now have to run back to the previous building to use to get another keycard to run all the way back to where I just was to progress. While on my backtracking mission for the next keycard, I meet Dirty Duck, a boss who hides behind 3 prisoners that you run the risk of killing if you don't aim carefully. Throwing caution to the wind, I immediately shot a hostage before receiving this phone call from Jennifer.
Oops. That was a hostage. This is Jennifer. Dirty Duck has card 8. My brother is among the captives. Please don't kill them. If anything happens to my brother, I won't help you anymore. I think I fucked up.
Whoops! That was Jennifer's brother I popped, meaning she won't give me useful information before the end of the game if I don't do a quick reset. Once Dirty Duck is defeated with no casualties, keycard 8 is mine, and once again I run straight back to Building 3 to confront the final bosses. In Building 3, I rescue one final hostage who reveals that the leader of Outer Heaven is actually Big Boss, who has betrayed us. While running through some final rooms leading up to the last bosses, the game decided to give me an additional kick in the ribs. In one of the room, which was a gas room that would constantly hurt me if the gas mask wasn't equipped, I found myself getting hurt by hidden mines, which I needed the metal detector equipped to see. Meaning it was impossible to get through the room without getting hurt by something unless you have pre-existing memorization of where all of the mines are. After that, you're led to a room with an electrified floor, at which Jennifer tells you that you have no other option than to just run across and use up your rations to heal yourself with. This whole section has just been about weakening you before the final boss. After that, I run straight into the room housing Metal Gear, where I was immediately sniped by his defense lasers. Also, I had exactly enough plastic explosives to destroy Metal Gear, meaning I couldn't miss once, which I immediately proceeded to do. To my knowledge, there are no ammo refills in this room, by the way. So, after a reset, I defeated the giant robotic beast by bombing its feet and earned the Ultimate Weapon No More trophy. Defeating Metal Gear triggered a self-destruct sequence, and I needed to make a quick getaway. However, upon running into the next room, I find Big Boss waiting for me, who explained that he betrayed us for some reason. A fight commences, and Big Boss sprints around the room taking shots at you from behind cover. A few quick hits with the rocket launcher are able to bring him down though, also earning the Supreme Commander Down trophy. With Big Boss defeated, all that was left to do was run away from the base before it exploded, completing the game and earning the No Big Deal trophy.
Jesus! Jesus Christ! Jesus! Fuck! Jesus! Oh!
This is Solid Snake. Metal Gear's been destroyed. Operation Intrude N313 was a success. No big deal. Job done. That's all. No big deal. I'd really like a Diet Coke when I get back if you wouldn't mind.
With the game completed, I just had to play through a boss survival consisting of the 8 aforementioned bosses. You are given ammo and rations as you progress, so utilizing the same strategies I used for each boss, I was able to get through pretty easily, with one exception. In boss survival, accidentally killing a hostage during the Dirty Duck fight, so 6 out of 8, results in an instant death. So naturally, a stray shot on my part ended up being a costly mistake. After a successful run though, the Outer Heaven Survivor trophy was mine, and the first Metal Gear was in the rearview mirror. Moving right along to Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake. Upon starting the game, I was gifted another freebie trophy right on time. Metal Gear 2 plays largely like the first, but with a few notable changes. For starters, you're given a map screen in the upper corner that actually shows you the enemy layouts in a 3x3 grid. In addition, enemies are able to move around within the grid instead of keeping to one screen at a time. Also new for this game, Snake realized his knees do indeed work, giving him the ability to crouch and crawl. This comes in handy for the updated stealth mechanics, which also included the inclusion of noisy terrain and a countdown timer for enemy detection instead of having to rely on taking out all of the enemies nearby. In addition to the stealth changes, a couple of changes were made to the rations. There are now 3 types of rations, each being made up of different ingredients, a feature that would come into play later. Also, the permanent respawn of materials has been done away with, meaning I need to start acting a lot more frugal with my supplies. But with all the major changes in gameplay out of the way, let's jump into the story. The game starts with Solid Snake entering another secret facility called Zanzibar Land, where he is tasked with rescuing Dr. Keo Marv. After fumbling my way around the facility for a while, picking up items and a keycard in similar fashion to the first game, I eventually find Dr. Marv. Wait, just kidding, it's another enemy disguised as the doctor I'm looking for. Again. The person we find is actually the game's first boss, Black Ninja. He's able to use his special jutsu to teleport around the map and throw shurikens at you.
Jesus Christ, he's Jason Bourne. He's dodging my bullets. Look at this scummy little guy.
Some well-timed shots will take care of him, but he can sometimes be a little bit difficult to wrangle. Once I got lucky and hit him enough times, Black Ninja goes down, and with his dying words, reveals that he's actually Schneider, the leader of the resistance from the first game. Man, all of our allies from the first game keep betraying us. I sure hope that trend doesn't continue. This is the point where it becomes clear that Metal Gear 2 has something to say outside of basic military action. Schneider explains that after Snake destroyed Metal Gear, NATO began indiscriminately bombing Outer Heaven, with no regard for anyone who may have still been there, including Schneider and the rest of the Resistance. All those prisoners you spend time rescuing in the first game likely wiped out by NATO in an attempt to wipe out Outer Heaven, even though the Metal Gear and Mastermind had already been dealt with. It makes you give pause and think about the legitimacy of NATO's actions, and provides interesting commentary on whether or not something is right just because it's your government or the people on your side that are doing it. Anyways, shaking off the feelings of self-reflection, Snake resumes listening to Schneider, who feels he owes Snake a debt. Maybe for his action in the first game, or he may be currently sparing his life, it's not clear, but Schneider tells Snake to follow a man with a green beret who should be able to lead him to Dr. Marv's cell. He also makes mention of a mysterious figure who saved Schneider's life and gave him and other unknown individuals a new home. Maybe these people will be upcoming bosses, only time will tell. Upon defeating the boss, I did notice that my health and carrying capacity went up. Oh, the man in the green beret! Jesus! It seems that this game's version of ranking up comes from boss fights rather than civilian rescues. With Schneider's information in hand, I set off to find a soldier in a green beret, and quickly find him in a newly accessible area on the first floor. Following him leads me out of the building and into the jungle. The soldier leads you through a twisting and turning maze of paths, but he's very paranoid and constantly checks for followers, sprinting away if he sees you. Without him, the jungle turns into a useless maze. For some reason, this took me a few tries, either due to my impatience getting the best of me and getting too close, or giving him too much space and losing him off screen. Eventually, I was led to a remote building, but found no one inside. In a rather cool move on the game's part, there's a prisoner on the other side of the wall providing a tap code that you're meant to cross-reference with your game guide.
Oh, he's like beating on the wall. I hear you. Yeah, dude, I hear you. I hear you beating on the wall.
Unfortunately, the only way to access the guide is to quit to the main menu, so I settled with looking up the tap code chart, still wanting to solve the puzzle the proper way. Solving the tap code gave me a radio frequency, which I was able to use to get in touch with Dr. Madnar from the first game, but after Big Boss and Schneider, I'm watching you, Madnar. Dr. Madnar reveals that he was captured at the same time as Dr. Marv, and that the doctor we're actually looking for has been moved to another building. Shocker. Dr. Madnar also reveals that he was intentionally left alive to create another, more powerful version of Metal Gear, one that's being prepped for mass production. And, since everyone and their mother has been resurrected from the first game, he also keys us into the fact that none other than Big Boss is behind the production of the new Metal Gear, looking to take over the world. With a Big Boss reunion to look forward to, I ditched Dr. Madnar in a cell and wandered straight into a bog. In this less than fun section, you're meant to stumble your way through the swamp on a hidden walking path, walking in a straight line until you start to sink, then course correcting until you eventually come across another random building. Once inside, another boss battle commences, this time against the Running Man. No, not that guy. No, not that one either, this guy. The 8-bit version of a cross between a dog with zoomies and the Quickster. The Running Man activates deadly gas, giving you a time limit for the fight, and proceeds to sprint around the grid too fast for you to catch him. Luckily, you can see his path on the map and can drop some convenient mines for him to trip over. Once he falls for your trap enough times, he spontaneously combusts and his ashes turn into another keycard. This keycard gives me access to a new weapon back in the first building, the Stinger missile, which immediately comes in handy in the next boss fight, this helicopter that flies around on a grid. Once you get a handle on the helicopter's patterns, you can use the Stinger missiles to knock it out of the sky with relative ease. With the helicopter blown to bits, I was free to move along to Building 2, the tower building. Once I used Snake's iconic cardboard box to sneak inside, I get a phone call from our friend Holly, who I may or may not have forgotten to mention by this point, letting us know that she's been discovered and is being held hostage in this very building. I set off to find her, exploring the maze-like tower building with its various elevators that take you to specific levels of the building. Down in the basement, I found some plastic explosives and immediately took it upon myself to renovate their building, knocking down a wall to reveal Holly. Once Snake is finished awkwardly flirting with her, she tells us that Dr. Marv is fond of sending notes through carrier pigeons, and I should try to find one on the roof. She also drops off keycard 4, which means we can explore around a little bit more. Now that we can knock down some pesky walls, I also find some grenades tucked away into a room. New weapons? I smell another boss fight coming on.
That sounded dramatic.
My intuition proves correct, as up on the 30th floor, I meet the Red Blaster. Red Blaster deals with his Vietnam War flashbacks by hiding up in the rafters and chucking explosives at you. But 2 can play at that game, as he's quickly dispatched by my new grenade friends. With Red Blaster dealt with, I started my climb up to the roof, where I found this strange exotic bird flying around, mocking me with its flight. Here's where an interesting thing about the game comes up. Apparently, the rations having different ingredients serves a purpose. As I learned through a guide, as I failed to find this information normally within the game, pigeons are attracted to the ingredients in the B2 ration specifically, and if you equip said ration, the bird will land for you and give you a note. The note includes a code which, when turned upside down, reveals another transceiver signal for you to call. Calling this number reveals Dr. Marv, finally! Only he's speaking some foreign tongue I can't understand, and Snake gave up on the Duolingo bird long ago.
What you saying? I can't understand. This is America, buddy. I can't understand you.
Now on a goose chase to find a translator, Dr. Madnar tells us that a woman named Gustava may be able to help and that she's hiding somewhere in the base dressed as an enemy soldier. The only clue to her whereabouts is that she is in fact a woman, something allegedly unique for the base that we're in. With this information in mind, we set off to recreate the shower scene from Porky's and start searching for the women's restroom. While searching for the bathroom, I come across the RC missile and some body armor in a basement filled with frustrating floor traps and too many enemies.
Well, I've concealed my rage for as long as possible. I have stayed calm, cool, and collected up to this point, but now my rage will echo through these corridors like the gusts of 1,000 winds! I defy you, video game! I defy you and what you stand for! I will come down on this game with the power of Thor! Good! Good! Everyone knows I'm here! Everybody! Everybody get a weapon! There's an intruder! We gotta take him out! Fuck!
At this point, my frustration towards the old games were starting to mount up, and my streaming partner began to fear for my sanity. Eventually, I found my way to the bathroom and met up with Gustava, who's able to translate for Dr. Marv, who tells us he's imprisoned on the other side of the tower building. So, back we go with Gustava in tow. Eventually, we find an elevator that leads us to Dr. Madnar, who gives us keycard 5 and joins the search for Dr. Marv. On the way to the next building in a totally not suspicious move, Dr. Madnar tells us he needs a break from walking and proceeds to just kinda walk away for a bit. This leaves time for Gustava to regale Snake with tales of a boyfriend she once had in the US, and why they were forced apart by her rejection for political asylum. Weird conversation to have in a sewer, Gustava, but if you feel the need to get this off your chest, it must be important. That, or you needed quick character development before you get captured or killed. Damn it!
Thank you. Take this. I was about to say, it's card 6, and she said it for me. And this is my brooch. To use you. How? How do I use it? Where are the drugs going? I can't. Hold on. Frank. No, my name is Snake. S-N-A-K-E, Snake. Snake! Yeah, that's it.
Gustava takes her dying breath as Dr. Madnar is captured by Grey Fox, who returns from the first game and who has also betrayed me.
Everybody betrayed me. I'm fed up with this world.
You just can't find good friends these days. Well, the bridge is down, so after sprinting all the way back to building 1 to find a hang glider, I sprint all the way back to the tower building to jump from the 20th floor to reach the next area. But before I can reach my jumping point, I am ambushed in the elevator by the 4 Horsemen, an elite assassin group specialized in tight spaces. Not specialized enough, apparently, as they jump down in an easy enough pattern and don't pose too much of a threat. Just hang out in a corner and knock them out 1 or 2 at a time and you'll be fine. The Horsemen are kind enough to drop keycard 7 upon their death, and it's back to the 20th floor. However, they rudely broke the elevator, so we're forced to climb the stairs from the 10th floor. This totally doesn't feel like runtime padding at all. Now that we've glided across, we're ready to move on to building 3. But before we get there, the next boss, Jungle Evil, pops up like a snake in the grass ready to fight. He isn't too difficult either, you just have to wait for him to pop up and take quick shots at him before he hits you. Following the patterns of his friends, he drops keycard 8 upon defeat and we are moving right along. Past the boss area, I find an egg that eventually hatches into an owl, which is used to make the guards think it's getting late so that he opens the gate, despite the fact that it's not dark outside. Alright. Moving on, inside this area, I run across a kid who tells me that due to rats being in the area, guards have started putting sulfuric acid on the ground in places. This will be important later, I promise. Another kid in here reminds me that B1 rations have chocolate in them, and those happen to be scattered around the area. This will also be important later, I promise. Sneaking further into the compound, I head into a basement and encounter the next boss, Night Fright, who uses cloaking tech to mask his location, meaning I had to rely on sound to pinpoint his position and attack him. A pretty interesting concept if you ask me. Although he does take a lot of time to shoot and walks at a normal pace, meaning I was able to guess his location and shoot him more often than not. Once he was dealt with, I moved on to find this random piss puddle, which I later realized was the aforementioned sulfuric acid, blocking my path and killing me instantly. On my next go-round, a walkthrough told me that the B1 ration will neutralize the acid, making it safe to walk on. Apparently, someone on the radio was supposed to tell me that something with sugar in it will neutralize the acid, leading you to remember the chocolate in the B1 unit. However, that person must have forgotten to call me because I was flying blind, a cool concept left frustrating by poor circumstances. Adding to my frustration, I learned that the way forward is blocked by a door needing the next keycard, which is supposed to spawn in the area of the Jungle Evil boss fight, but only after all 3 puddles of acid have been neutralized, which again, no one mentioned, meaning I had to find out through a walkthrough, which again, I hate using. After getting card 9 and expressing frustration about this during my stream, someone called me with instructions on where to find card 9. I went back and checked, that did not happen when I was in the room previously, before and after neutralizing the acid. What is happening? Pushing frustrations aside, finally getting through the door reveals Dr. Madnar standing over Dr. Marv's dead body. Madnar claims he died of heart failure, but the bruising on his neck says otherwise. Madnar also says that the plans for an energy source Big Boss is looking for were hidden inside of a locker by Dr. Marv, but it's unknown where the key for the locker is. Once Dr. Madnar finishes sounding incredibly suspicious,
I don't know. I couldn't get at him. I mean, he never told me. I didn't choke him to death. I swear.
Polly calls to let me know that Madnar is also a double agent who became bitter due to the scientific community thinking he was crazy. Where could they have gotten that idea?
Madnar, did you kill Dr. Marv? Yes! He would not share the secret of Oilix with me, and it was I who caused Gustavus' death on the bridge by contacting Fox from the sewer. You thought I was taking a shit the bathroom break.
Once Madnar finishes monologuing, he proceeds to try to choke me out with incredible strength.
I'm gonna come at you like a spider monkey.
Like a spider monkey!
Requiring an obscene number of missiles to the back to dispose of him. Once Madnar is dealt with, it's revealed that the key to the locker was given to Snake by Gustava as she died, in the form of her brooch. It's not that simple, however, it never is. Apparently, the brooch is made of some form of material that changes shape in extreme temperatures, meaning it has to be frozen or melted into a key shape in a sauna or a freezer, both all the way back in the first building, which means we're running all the way back again. Once the key has been melted by the sauna, I beeline back to the Madnar room, but whoops, the brooch is back! Apparently, 2 different keys form depending on the temperature change method, and to progress, I needed to freeze the brooch, not melt it. Silly me, it's not like there was anything letting me know that, as far as I know, so one trip back to building 1 later, I cooled off in the freezer long enough for the key to form, ran back again to the Madnar room, and just like that, I open this door and get killed by rats. The stream has been going on for a while at this point, and my mental state is starting to crumble. In classic rat fashion, you're meant to tempt them out of their hole with sweet cheese before knocking them off one by one, or at least you're supposed to take them out and not get distracted while they run up on you and kill you to take your cheese. Once they're properly dealt with, you can finally pick up the cartridge containing the plans that everyone is after. Once back outside, Dr. Madnar remembers that he's supposed to have a conscience, and tells you once more how to destroy Metal Gear. Wouldn't you know it? Chuck explosives at its legs. Who'd have guessed? Never change, Madnar. With this knowledge, Snake is sent falling down into a trapdoor where he's confronted by Gray Fox controlling the new and improved Metal Gear, now much more mobile and sporting some deadly weaponry. I did my best to dodge fire while throwing grenades at its legs until eventually, the beast went down, giving me the "We didn't start the fire" trophy for my victory. After the Metal Gear fight, Snake spontaneously combusts while Gray Fox runs away, forcing him to drop all of his items that are on fire, leaving me with no weapons or rations. In the next room, Gray Fox waits to take Snake down. Finally, after spending the entire latter half of the game taunting me and sending bosses to kill me, it's all come down to this. A showdown of titans, sure to be the ultimate test of— Oh! Well, that wasn't too bad. Fox goes down, spilling his life story to Snake. He talks about Big Boss saving his life multiple times and says that as much as he hates war, he feels like he needs it to survive and feel alive, ultimately revealing himself to be not only the lover Gustava spoke of, but also my #1 fan who had been giving advice and warnings the entire game before finally dying in my arms. Heavy stuff, man. Oh, neat, another trophy. Finally, Snake is funneled into the next room where he's reunited with Big Boss, rambling on and on about the military-industrial complex and his continuous thirst for war. Once he's done yapping, the final fight begins. The only problem is I have no weapons. I run around the room collecting B1 rations and slowly collecting keycards to unlock doors in the arena until finally I'm able to collect a lighter and some hairspray. Snake lights up Big Boss with his homemade flamethrower, finally taking him down and getting me the "It's Over" trophy. With Big Boss defeated, all that's left to do is run to the rendezvous point with Holly in tow, where a helicopter picks us up and the game ends, rewarding me with the "Free from Rations" trophy. With the end in sight, I head back to the main menu and flip through the game's script book, grabbing the cover-to-cover Gear 1 and 2 trophy along the way. Finally, all I had left to do was run through boss survival for the second game, and since I had a decent strategy for each of the bosses—
Almost stepped on this puddle there. Would have been very upset. Just in case I misstep. Which I almost did.
victory should be mine, and— that's embarrassing. But after a quick run back and a visit from my concerned streaming partner,
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never understand.
I managed to beat the boss rush the second time through, earning the Zanzibar Land Survivor trophy, and with it, the platinum. So, do I recommend this platinum? Well, despite my frustrated ramblings, kind of? I think the games are worth playing if you'd like to experience the whole story of Metal Gear, and the platinum is ridiculously easy to get if you're already playing the games. You only have to go out of your way to flip through the script book and do the boss rushes, which honestly aren't that bad if you don't make dumb mistakes like I did. As frustrated as I was throughout the process, while reviewing footage to prepare for this video, I started to give in to the game's charm a little bit. Sure, there's plenty of frustrating parts, some of which were admittedly my fault, but I think that the games have a lot to offer as well. If anything, I think playing through them will make me appreciate the Solid series more when I get there, and some quality of life adjustments that they're sure to bring. I think that if some of the rough edges were sanded off, the MSX games would have been much more enjoyable, and I'd go so far as to say I might have loved them. For example, small changes like labeling keycard doors, leaving unlocked doors open so I'm not constantly checking empty rooms, and not limiting important radio calls to specific rooms or actions without any prior indication would have elevated these games to a new level. As it stands, they're frustrating, but still worth it. Now, as far as the next game in the journey goes, I typically let a randomizer wheel determine my fate, but as it stands, we were 4 games into the challenge and I still had 8 Ratchet & Clank games left to play, making an almost even split with the other Galaxy 1 games. So, for the rest of the Galaxy, every other Platinum will be a Ratchet & Clank game. If you'd like to see how the second game in the series went for me, the live streams are up on the channel. If not, another Platinum video will be headed your way soon. Until next time, as always, thanks for watching.